You have a need that your soul longs for. How do I connect you to God, who is the source of that, in a way that you can connect with? Like that, apologetics are great. I love apologetics, but who cares what the truth is if it's delivered poorly? To me, the genius, the fascination of doing all of this work is saying, hey, how do I share it with you in a way that you're going to connect with and it'll change your life?
Hey, my name is Matt Poole, and this is Unapologetically Catholic, the show where I talk about the reasons why I am unapologetically Catholic and why I think that you should be too. And in this week's episode, I get to sit down and talk with Connor McLauglin. And if it seems like this intro is a little bit different, it's because it is. So Connor and I were having a conversation before we were technically supposed to start recording. And then the conversation was going so well that he suggested we just keep going. And I said, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So if it seems like you jumped into the middle of our conversation, you did. And I apologize. But it's a great episode where we talk about evangelization. We talk about mystical experiences and some cool stuff that Connor is working on. So I think it'll be a great episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those who have subscribed, who like these videos, share them, comment on them. I appreciate that. This channel has grown fairly quickly over the last few days, and I really appreciate that. I hope to make more videos. I have plans to make more videos explaining why I'm unapologetically Catholic and why I really think you should be too. So with all of that, let's get right into it.
And it's like, when I was on Catholic Answers the other day, Cy Kellett asked me that question about like, oh, well, you were reluctant to start, but you got over your reluctantness, right? And I was like, no, I don't want to do any of this. I just feel like I have to, and I feel like I'm called to do it, and I feel like I'm good at it, so I feel like I have to do it. It's like, that's almost the sign of like, so you're on the right track. The fact that you're like, oh, I'm doing this is just God's grace. Like, it forces you to be like, all right, man, if this is the play, I guess.
Yeah, that's, I was on one podcast, actually, Catholic for Rednecks, John Edwards.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, he was like, I'm interviewing converts, so if you're a convert and you want to be on the show, let me know. And I messaged him, and he was like, I'd love to have you on. So I did it, and then afterwards, he was like, you've got a really good voice, you know a lot about the faith, you ought to like think about doing a podcast or something. And then my wife, she was like, I know you really like talking about this stuff. And I kind of do, but not as much as you. So like, you really need an outlet. And then somebody else, a friend that from Texas, he was like, dude, you just need to like, you need an outlet. You need to share this with people. And so I was like, all right, if 3 different people are telling me and they're not communicating, like maybe I'll just do it and see what happens.
Maybe I should listen. Yeah, I feel that. That's like the craziest. I feel like the best. I feel almost like the odd man out because I feel like all of the big like up and coming people are either converts or reverts now. And so I'm kind of here like, hi, I'm the cradle Catholic, like homeschooled, hyper nerd theology kid. And I feel like I'm the odd man out. But you said like, oh, you got it all together. I was doing this back in 2015. So like I was in like when the YouTube like Catholic world was the big deal, right? And like 30,000 was like, oh, top of the game in the Catholic world for long form. So I've just been, I came out of nowhere and started doing, I mean, all God's grace, like 7 months, 27,000 followers is insane. Like it's ridiculous. But it's because I've been doing it for almost a decade consistently. Right. I took a few years off COVID to now, just because I wasn't the right person to be doing the content and I wasn't making the right kind of content that I should have been making. But I was able, when I came back, I was able to get over all of the, I don't know how to talk to a camera, I don't know how to structure a video, I don't know how to, like, you don't need that stuff, but when you've gone through and practiced and figure out 60 ways you don't like doing it, it's helpful to not have to retread all that. So yeah, I'm only doing decent because I have the practice and the experience and the time. Like that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been on for 2 or 3 years now, so it's been a while. Now YouTube just started. I really got consistent with YouTube back in January. So
YouTube is hard to get back into. I made that one video and it did decent, like 1,800 views, but I'm like, why am I going to spend hours making one video that can get a bunch of views when I can just put it on Instagram and it's done? You know, it's like for a fifth of the time, except, you know, YouTube monetizes, so maybe that's a good reason enough, but still, I don't know. I just don't know how to. It's so interesting because you're also hitting so many different people. I feel like YouTube, you create great brand awareness and connection with people, but at the same time, like the content that you can make on Instagram reaches so many more people. Like, and this isn't to brag. This is just like a weird thing. I'm sure this happened to you, where like at the Easter Vigil, people were DMing me and being like, "Hey man, I just got confirmed. Your videos helped." Like, that is one of those. How did you feel about that? Because I was like, really? My dumb videos help? I mean, God's grace can work through an idiot, I guess. Like, I don't know. No false humility, but like, genuinely, it's like, I'm just making these videos on CapCut. Amazing. But also, how? So how do you process that?
So for me, I was very, like, the first couple of videos that I got, it's always like a reminder of like the weight of what I'm doing, you know? But it's also like, sometimes I think, dude, I'm not, like, I have family, like a huge family. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is such a waste of time. And then, because, you know, like, it does take time. And so sometimes it takes time away from my wife and children. And so I'm thinking, I'm not doing this anymore. And then, you know, these people message me, and I think I had 2 people message me and say that. And I was like, there's 2 people that, like, 2 souls that came into the church now because it's something I said. I'm doing it. I'm gonna keep pushing along.
And God always sends those right as you're like, oh, I'm not sure, and then God's like, here, fine, I'll give you a little trickle.
yeah. I read Dark Night of the Soul every Lent, and I
read it once and I fell into depression. Are you kidding me? It's so sad. Oh, yes.
I love it so much. I've
only recently gotten back into mystics. I've been like very much I used to be a Thomistic theology guy, and then I realized Thomistic theologians are weird. Like they're very, very interesting human beings. I love all of you, but like at the same time, touch grass. But for my book, I've been reading a lot more. I met this guy quick story time if I can. I met this guy out in Utah, the Utah Catholic Conference, Jason, I think it's Dowsis or Doisis. He's a Catholic theologian, or a Catholic psychiatrist. I think he's like one of like 3 or 4 Catholic psychiatrists in all of Utah. And we had booths across from each other, and it was, you know, when people were in workshops, nobody was really walking through. I was there for my youth ministry. And we just started talking, and we really hit it off. But he started talking to me about like modern mystic thought in the Catholic world, not like charismatic. He turned me onto this book called The Immortal Diamond by Richard Rohr. He's this priest down in Texas. Screams Jesuit touchy-feeliness, but like magisterially sound. Like it's legit. But his whole vision is on like the true versus the false self, which is very much mirroring like John of the Cross and Alphonsus Liguori and Little Teresa of Avila energy. Which shows you how like I'm really into mystics now. But his whole idea was, look, if your soul is that which is closest to being made in the image and likeness of God, then that is your true self. And learning who you are and how God sees you is more of an unlearning than it is a learning. It's removing false identities from you, these fake I am statements, and going into a true identity of this is who you are truly. Not saying I am these things, but I'm saying I am a person, I am my soul, I am mind, body, and soul, but I am me. And these things are aspects of who I am. They're not identity. Yeah. Which is like, and then I was like, wait, is this legit? Hold on. Either this is crazy or it's genius. So then I read Complete Uniformity to God's Will, and that broke my brain. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I just started getting, I need to read Dark Night of the Soul again, because I think when I read it, I was just not at a place that I could appreciate it.
Yeah. I read it every Lent, because it's
so crazy.
I feel like I'm more of a, I don't know. I come across as a very like jovial, happy-go-lucky guy, but I feel like a pretty dark person.
Really? Elaborate. You're the meme.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes, I am. I don't know. I'm really into like I just feel like I'm always getting beat over the head with things. And so there for a while, like I really tried to fight it and was like, oh, why is this like, why does this keep happening to me? Why is this thing happening? Why is that thing happening? And then I also kind of have this, I tell a friend of mine, I don't think or believe like an atheist, but sometimes I live as though I'm an atheist.
Ooh.
And that's like, there's something about it like, I know in my heart and my mind that God exists and that God does love me, but I do so many things in my life that's like doesn't
not reflective.
Yes, doesn't live in light of that fact. And it's so hard. It's like it's a hard struggle for me to like make that connection. Like, okay, this, and so I'm very like the thought of Jesus carrying his cross, and like we are called to carry our cross as well. Very, really into that.
That's so fair. I'm such a go to my absolute detriment, and I recognize this. I'm a, hey God, you'll give me the strength I need. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do I'm just gonna run with this. Yeah. And that usually lets me get way over my head, like, oh no, I shouldn't have been here, but kind of a, hey, I used to be really impatient. I used to be really, I couldn't figure out humility. I couldn't figure out patience, because I was like, I'm just going to run. God's going to support me. God's going to be behind me. And then I realized that was the backwards way to think about it. And it's the other way around, that he gives you the plan and then you run with what he gives you, not that you run and he gives you the strength to do what you want, which isn't like, also like to riff off of your point, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? Oftentimes like living like an atheist, living like that doesn't mean sin. It just means a mindset. Like it's just thought patterns of, oh, am I going to do this way? Or like, oh man, this is really hard. I should rely on God, but I don't want to. Like, it's not just our actions. It's the way we think. It's the way we live. This is such a good conversation. I loved it.
Yeah. I also have, I have a wildly difficult time with, like anxiety.
Dude, same.
So I travel for work and I drive in a car, and I don't know what it is, but like whenever I get in a car and I'm by myself and I'm hours away, I convince myself that I'm going to die. And so it's a lot of times in that where it's like I feel like a vast emptiness and hopelessness. And so then it's like, so it's really hard, but it's a struggle, and I'm getting there. Slowly but surely,
that's
I'm
like
getting there.
Minor. That's not like demons attacking you, but that's definitely some minor spiritual warfare, brother. That is hard.
Yeah, it's tricky, because I mean that's what I do for work. Like I have to make sales calls, so like I can't not drive. Like
people don't realize what it's like to be a creator. It's like it's not fun. Sorry, like it, and it's like, oh, it's literally like the DJ Khaled like suffering from success meme, but it's like. It is stressful to realize that if you say something wrong, it leads souls astray. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get so stressed out every time I make a video.
Yeah. That is, so I'm always very, like, I'm super meticulous about what I say. And I try to be really, really, really careful with everything that I talk through. Because I'm, the last thing that I want to do is say something in a certain way that somebody then takes back and goes, oh, well, Matt said X, Y, and Z, so that means this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh, but that's not, that's not what I meant. And then, when you're putting it online, it's not like you're having a conversation with someone where they can, you can have that back and
clarify.
forth.
Yeah.
Right. And so they just take it and then they're gone. And so it makes it so, like,
you almost have to and this is so random to think about, we almost have to summa theologica it. We have to think about, this is what I'm going to say, but then what would they say to respond to that? So now I have to do my normal thing in response actually to what they're saying while still hitting on the main point. It's like, how do you do that though?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's the way to do it well.
Yeah. It is very difficult. And I think for me, like, that's why I try to, I don't know, I go back and forth. I'm not going to lie. When somebody calls me a Catholic content creator, I cringe. Like, it makes my skin crawl so much. And
I mean, I make content, but no.
Yeah, like when I think of a content creator, I think like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's, travel vlog, Matt,
start doing the beauty vlogs. Where's the outfit of the day? Come on, man. See, I can't do it because I always wear a black t-shirt. Like I have this exact shirt, like 8 of them. So I can't do outfit of the day because it'd be boring.
Yeah, that's what I think of when it's a content creator. And so I don't know. It's like, I mean,
okay, no. Hold on. This is something we were texting about, actually. It's the same way with a salesman. Like how we talk about, because you and I in the DMs were chatting, not to like spill the DMs, but like we were talking about how for me, and I say this all the time, like when I die and I have my holy card, I want to say like, you know, like you have the little tagline for like what the holy card is, the nickname. I want mine to be just be like God's salesman. Like, nice. And I'm writing a whole book called Selling Jesus, because it's like, how do we use modern day communication methods and terminology? Actually, I wrote this great phrase the other day, driving back from the Catholic Answers spotlight that I was on. And it was the work of the new evangelization is not convincing or coercing or winning. It's about selling Jesus to someone. And really, it's like, okay, you have this bad image of a salesman where it's like this skeevy, awkward, creepy, like used car salesman, like, hello, what would you like today? A Honda 13, a Hyundai 17, or whatever, right? But it's like, have you ever met one of those people? It's like, no, but but you remember the awesome salesman who you were like, hey man, look, I got 6 kids, I have this much money, I need these features, and he's like, dude, okay, here's what we can do, and he sets you up with what you need. I feel like that is what we need to do in the evangelization method, and the salesman's vibe we have is like, hey, what are you looking for? And this is what our Protestant brothers and sisters do so freaking well that we could do better because we have the fullness of the faith. We can go as deep as somebody wants. We can go even deeper than what they want because 2,000 years of tradition and thought. We just need to think about evangelization as you have a longing in your heart, you have something you're looking for, you have a need that your soul longs for. How do I connect you to God, who is the source of that, in a way that you can connect with? Like that, apologetics are great. I love apologetics, but who cares what the truth is if it's delivered poorly? To me, the genius, the fascination of doing all of this work is saying, hey, how do I share it with you in a way that you're going to connect with and it'll change your life? Or change your life is the proper term, because I want an alteration of your being to some degree to more properly reflect truth. And so I don't care what the truth is. What we were just saying, how can I say it in a way that's new and unique or that isn't heretical? Which is a very hard part to do, because when we go with analogies, I mean, the Trinity, 50 different, Donatism, Gnosticism, whatever you want to do, right? But if we can figure out how to do that more and more and say, hey, this is another way we can say it, this is a cool way to do it, or something like that, that is something that's going to connect with someone so powerfully well. To me, that's the real mission of what we're trying to do, is that method of evangelization. It's so cool. I'm riffing. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That was good. So I think the same thing, because when I first got into sales, I would have some friends say, oh, I just could never do that. Like, I'm too honest of a person. Sales just seems like slimy. And, the longer I got into it, I realized, it's sales, the dishonest, like, slimy, sleazy kind of sales guys, they normally don't last very long. They don't make it very long.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, they just, they'll like a spark, right? Like they'll spark and they might make a ton of money, for a second, but then it's gone. And then they get found out eventually. Yeah. In a lot of sales, especially in the type of sales that I'm in, it's a lot of relationship building and a lot of like consultative selling.
Yep.
So just as you were saying, it's not, oh, I've got this flashy, nice product. How can I get it to you so I can get your money? Because that's all I'm interested in, is just your money. It's more of a, okay, you have a problem. Like, let me sit down, show me what your problem is, show me what your process is like. How can we make it? Because I sell products to all kinds of different manufacturers.
You do chemical resource sales or?
Just precision cleaning chemicals.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that is very specific.
Yes, it is. So we do a lot with like airplane manufacturers, medical device manufacturers, electronics manufacturing. So it's like a really, you may have somebody who's making a spark plug for an airplane and they're saying, okay, well, we're using this chemistry and it kind of works, but we're having this residue left over. What exactly do you have? And then I come in and I talk with engineers and I walk through the plant and I look at the process and I go, okay, really what you need, like the solution that you're looking for is this. And it's the same thing like with what we're doing. And I think like the selling Jesus, I think at first is like abrasive because most people think of like slimy, sleazy sales guys.
Exactly.
But it's like, no, I A good salesperson is someone who provides a good, honest solution, and your soul has a need and like a deep longing for something. And
Absolutely.
my job as an evangelist is to show you, like, this is what you need, just like you were saying, and it's the way you say it. Because I could come into that, like with my day job, I could go into a plant and tell an engineer, "You're an idiot. That's so dumb. Why would you ever use that? This is going to work so much better. This is so stupid. Why would you think that would work?"
They're not gonna buy.
Right.
And it's not buying from you. It's they're not going to have their needs met. They're not going to have the solution fulfilled. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Great example.
I would do the same thing. If somebody came in and was talking to me that way, I wouldn't ever.
I'm out.
Yeah. See ya.
I'm out.
I don't care.
I'm out. There are too many of our brothers and sisters trying to be the next great apologist, and it's like, without naming names, obviously, but like some of it is like, dude, you're either gonna burn out because you don't get what you're fulfilled because they have on it. Okay, actually, whoa, unlock here. I think the difference is metrics. And that's where we kind of get screwed because we're looking at it and we're like, look, my metric is to build something to save souls. I know it's going to take a while. I know it's going to do something. It's at God's time and whatever. Whereas everybody else is like, my metric is this. And so I'm going to sell my PDF because my metric is making money or my metric is becoming popular or anything like that. There is a large, prominent ex-Catholic Bible scholar account. I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about. Who constantly just takes all of our, Catholic Creator videos and be like, here's actually, as an ex-Catholic, why this is unbiblical. And it's very funny because he just takes it all out of context. And it's like, that's not how did you make a straw man out of a straw man? Which, like, honestly, low-key, respect being able to do that. Mental gymnastics, gold medal. But people who are kind of like that, like, they're not going to last. Because every single, I called him out one time and I was like, look, man, no shade, but you're clearly just trying to sell your PDF and your courses. And he's like, how dare you? I'm a man of God. I'm like, no, brother, what you're doing is the perfect method to do your stuff. If your goal is, hey, I want to make money doing my courses, that's fine. Absolutely agree. But I question whether, and obviously making money is good. I'm not against making money. I want to be rich. I want to have money because it's the only way we can change things. But, and because it helps growth and all that stuff, right? Money's a great tool for good as well. If it's a tool for evil, it's a tool for good. But that, I think, might be the thing is, what's the metric? What are you really trying to do it for? And if you're doing it because God told you, hey, man, both of our stories, God told you you should do it through other people or through something, your metric is not going to be money because you don't care about money. You're doing this because God told you to do it and you kind of feel like you have to. Yeah. Which is like a completely different world.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So I struggle with that because I've had some people.
Wait, elaborate. Why do you struggle?
Well, with like
where do you
the money side of things, right? Because I have obviously I have a 9 to 5 that keeps me very busy, and
you and me both, brother.
Yeah, and I would love to do this kind of stuff more. And so I have some friends who are talking to me, and they'll say, "Look, I know you don't, because the last thing that I want to do is turn this into like, oh, this is my job where I make money. So I'm not getting enough views." And I need to make more money. So what can I do that's just gonna like really grab a bunch of people?
And then you end up doing reaction videos, and then and then you become a skeevy salesman.
Yes, right, exactly. So that's such a hard, because some of the friends of mine have a valid point. Like, look, if you could make this at least something where you could make honest income, and then you could do other things on the side, then you could you could reach more people and like you could help more people. And if this can help support your family, that's like, why are you fighting this so hard? It's so.
But we also, that's the problem. I'm running into that literally just having a conversation with a bunch of people about that very thing, because it's like when you have multiple vocations that you feel like you have to fulfill, which like making content online is a vocation to some degree. But you also have a vocation and a covenant with your spouse and with your children. And it's like, and I don't even have kids yet. And I'm already feeling the pressure of like, okay, are we good? Like, not in a way of, oh, wait, I got to wait until everything's figured out to have kids. Because obviously nothing will ever be truly figured out. Duh. Right. But when you have multiple vocations, that are God-given, how can you make any one vocation a priority? And it's like, whoa. I have no idea. I have no answer. That's what I'm struggling with right now. Like literally today.
Yeah, that has actually I heard one time somebody said something along the lines of you can have like 3 different things that you do. And this was not like a religious person. He was just talking in general. Okay, so like when I was talking about I was really into road cycling, the guy who does the vlogging that I followed, he ran into this situation where he was trying to do a bunch of different really big things all at one time. And so through his experience, he thought, I can only really handle like 3 different things. And then of those 3 things, one, I'm still going to have to prioritize within those 3. And I've found that extremely accurate. Like I could never, I mean, I couldn't do this kind of stuff that I do and then also try to do road cycling and then also be a husband and a father and also work a full-time job as well. And so for me, it really honestly is like, I got my family, I've got my work, and then I've got this stuff that I do online, and those are the major hobbies. Yeah. So solid. Family, work, and then this stuff. Because prime example, this week, I've been, since January, thank goodness, I've been actually fairly consistent. I try to release a new video every Thursday.
Nice.
And then this last week, this week for work was insane. I was in a hotel, 4 out of the 5 nights.
Why did you have icons in your hotel with you, by the way?
I bring them every time.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I don't play around. Because
so you don't get stabbed, or?
So I will get stabbed?
No, so you don't get stabbed. You're like, if I have an icon of the Sacred Heart, no one will vandalize me.
No. I think because it's the same. I think it's for the same reason that I have them at home. Like somebody told me, I heard one time that like icons or pictures of saints or stuff are like windows into heaven.
Yeah, it's that Eastern or Greek Orthodox view. I love that.
Okay, yeah, and so I am very big about that I want that to be everywhere. And then especially in a hotel room, I don't remember who it was, but there was a priest, fairly popular, not Father Mike Schmitz.
David Michael Moses?
No, this guy, he's a priest in Canada, and he was recently on the Matt Fradd show.
Not Ripperger. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Goring? Mark Goring? Father Mark Goring?
Yeah, Mark Goring. That's it.
He's
great.
Yes. So he one time, I think it was him, said something along the lines of like, he brings a blessed candle with him to a hotel.
Ooh.
And holy water. Just because he was like, you don't know who was in this room before you. You don't know who was in the building before you. You don't know. And like, you're sleeping here. And I've had weird things happen to me in my sleep. And so I don't play around with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so there's something
fair.
Yeah. There's just something like, if for nothing else, like to me, it's really comforting, to like have Jesus and my patron saint, St. Patrick, like right there staring at me the whole time.
Was that your confirmation name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Sick.
Yep. So St.
one.
Patrick, I actually, talking about mystical experiences, the reason I chose St. Patrick was because of a mystical experience I had.
Tell it. I'm so hyped. Okay. I don't like spiritual stuff of like, whoa, but I love hearing about it anyways. I'm crazy.
Yes. Okay. So so for a little bit of background, this may be a little bit of a long story. So sorry.
That's fine. I'm so excited.
But growing up, I grew up Southern Baptist, and they were very, very, if you hear God's voice, or if God is calling you to something, or you see something, like none of that's real. None of that exists anymore. The cessationist kind of all the spiritual gifts have ceased. Not all of the spiritual gifts, but like
but it's like reverse Pentecostalism.
Yes. Yeah. There's speaking in tongues. There's no spiritual healings. None of that stuff is real anymore. So I always grow up thinking like, ghosts aren't real. If you see a ghost, it's the chemistry in your brain is floating around in some kind of funky ways to make you see things. So,
pause. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So is it almost a form of like naturalism? Or sorry, not naturalism, dualism?
Explain.
So like the early dualist, I love the dualist heresy. Because it's just so interesting to me that like the things of the flesh are bad, but the things of the spirit are good. Is it almost like a reverse of that? Of like, there are no things of the spirit anymore that we can accomplish. It's all things of the flesh. That is like your spirit is in there.
Yeah. So yes, kind. It was almost like they made just a massive chasm between the two.
Oh, okay. Fascinating.
There's no like crossover. Like they would say the saints and the angels and everything. It's impossible for them to look on us and see us and interact with us at all, because if you're in the presence of God and the greatness of God is so great, it would be nearly impossible for you to turn your gaze towards something else, is what they would say.
Isn't there a scripture verse that talks about a great chasm? Is that kind of where they're getting it from? Or a great separation?
I
feel like there might be.
Right.
I don't know. Regardless, we're getting way off track. But that's really, thanks for clarifying. So it's not even good or bad. It's just kind of like, doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Continue. I'm fascinated.
So I
this
grew up
is the
always,
setup, and I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I grew up always kind of thinking this stuff, right? And then I think I was probably 7 to 10, somewhere around there when this happened. So my brother and I slept downstairs in we had a full basement, and the back half of the basement was finished. So our beds were kind of like next to each other. There was 3 or 4 feet of space between the two beds. And I remember one night we always slept with the closet light on, because we were like, we're in the creepy basement. This is scary. We need some kind of light in here.
I respect it.
So there was a doorway. Like if I'm laying back and I look down at my feet, right off to the right-hand side, there was a doorway, and that was the stairs that went upstairs. So one night I'm laying there and I'm like asleep. and I wake up and I see this really tall, dark hooded figure standing in the doorway. Just like, uh-oh.
Nope. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, just sitting there staring at me. It looked like, gosh, I can never remember the name. Is it a Demogorgon? No, that's Stranger Things.
That's Stranger Things.
What's the Harry Potter Dementor?
Dementor.
Yes. Looks like a Dementor.
Hate that.
Standing in the doorway staring at me. And then I remember by the time I was like, oh man, this is terrifying, and I was about to move, it like rushed over to the side of the bed, and I could see it like standing over me, and then it felt like it jumped on top of me, and then I think it's called like sleep paralysis, and like I couldn't move, I couldn't scream, like all I could do was move my eyes. And
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that was a sleep paralysis.
Yes.
You had it like the meme of sleep paralysis demon, legitimately. Yes. Holy crap.
Yeah, and I will not sleep on my back to this day because of that. But
understandable.
That was 20 years ago, 20-something years ago.
Trauma lasts, brother. Trauma lasts.
Yeah, but the only way that I got out of it, because I was like trying to scream for my brother. I was trying to like lean over and like get my brother's attention, or like hit the bed, or make some kind of noise, and I couldn't move. And I remember feeling like hot and sweaty because I'm like fighting so hard. And then I was able to turn my head just enough to where I could look at the wall, and there was a bright golden cross that appeared with light that was like shining around it, and it disappeared. And I like could move again. I was drenched in sweat, like utterly terrifying, right? So then, understandably so, the next few nights I couldn't sleep ever.
Wonder why?
Because I was just petrified. So it was either the next night or the 2 nights after that. I went up to my parents' room because I was like, I'm sleeping with my parents. I don't care.
Have you told people about this?
No, because when it happened, it was like, oh, that's just like I had that same mentality of that wasn't real. This was just a bad dream. Like
Man, what did I eat last night? Yeah, no, fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had some funky McDonald's or something.
Yep.
You know, there's
The Polynesian sauce was a little out of date. Yeah, absolutely.
right.
That's fair.
And so I thought this is just a bad dream. I just need to like get over this somehow. So
fair. Like, I'm not laughing because it's stupid. Like, that's absolutely fair. But then also you're looking back and you're like, wow, that was a dumb thing to think.
Yeah. And I even remember thinking at the time, like, I know that this, you know, my thought process then was, I know this stuff isn't real. But that really felt real. Like, I don't know. I hear what my pastor's saying, but I don't know, man. Maybe you're wrong on this one because that felt wildly real.
That's crazy.
But I go up to my parents' room one of these nights because I can't sleep, and I was like, if I go lay with my parents, I'll feel all right. So then I get between them, and my parents were great. So I was like laying on my back, and I felt very like comfortable because I was
nice.
Yeah, I was like with mom and dad.
Yeah.
But again, so like if I'm laying down on my back and I look down towards my feet, there's a doorway that goes to a long hallway that goes down to like on the right hand side was the kitchen and dining room, and on the left hand side was the living room. And we had like a bar on the right hand side at the end of the hallway. So I'm laying there and I'm thinking, man, I can't sleep. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, something like that. And then all of a sudden, and my parents kept the bedroom door open. I don't know why. I think my dad was like, if there's an intruder, I need to hear him. And so
clear line of sight. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden there was like smoke that came from the right side, like from the kitchen area. There was smoke that was billowing towards the middle of the hallway. And I was thinking, man, please not again. Like, just leave me alone. I don't know who you are or what you want or what this is. And, you know, I remember thinking, how am I dreaming, but I'm awake? So the smoke kind of billows to the middle of the hallway, and then it builds up almost like incense. And then it like starts moving towards my parents' room. And then in the smoke, I can see like an outline of a person. And when it was really far away, it was super dark. And then the closer it moved, the more like defined it became. But this time it was actually a good thing, because the closer it moved, I got like more and more peaceful. And I remember when I first saw it, I was freaking out big time, like terrified.
Understandably.
And as the smoke is moving and this person is becoming more and more like defined, and I can tell more features, I remember thinking to myself, like, why do I feel so why am I feeling more peaceful the closer this thing gets? And then all of a sudden he gets to the doorway, and it's like there's cloud, like he's standing on a cloud under his feet. And then it was a guy in a big green priest robe, had a big bishop's hat.
What?
There was like the gold that came down. He had a big brown beard and like really nice brown hair. And he smiled at me, and I shut my eyes and fell asleep, like never slept better in my life. And at the time, so there's a couple of crazy things, because at the time I was...
Couple. Continue, Matt. Please, I have so many questions.
Good. Okay, good. So yeah, so like the at the time I was a Protestant. I knew nothing about Catholicism. So to me, like, I thought, why is there a weird man with a funny looking hat and a long green dress standing at the door? Like, what is all of this?
You're like, wow, the new sleep paralysis demon is weird. The peace paralysis demon is very odd.
Yeah, he's
what
wearing
Harry Potter character was this?
Yeah, he's wearing funny clothes. He's got a big hat. And so I had no clue about any of this stuff. Also, on my mom's side, so my mom's side of the family is all Catholic. I think it was my great or maybe great grandparents were from Ireland.
Where in Ireland?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I couldn't tell you.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. With a name like Pool, I was like, that's English. What?
Yeah. I think I'm kind of a mutt. I'm a mix of a whole bunch of different things. But
welcome in no one's land. All right, fair enough.
That's right. But my mom's side is a bunch of Irish Catholics. So years and years go by, and I'm always thinking, like, this is just a bad dream. This was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like you ate some funky food that gave you some kind of weird stomach bug for like a week. And then I had a friend that converts. I start studying Catholicism. This was like an 8-year-long process of studying. And then right before I convert, the friend that I had been talking to, he was like, you got to pick a patron saint. And I said, yeah, I don't know who to pick. And he said, yeah, they kind of, people will say that like your patron saint picks you, that you don't really pick them.
I've never heard that before. That's fascinating.
Oh, really?
No, that's so intriguing.
Yeah. I've noticed it a few times. So I'm the director of OCIA at my parish.
Nice.
And
sick.
Yeah, and there, it seems like every time that's how it works.
Fascinating.
With everybody who's coming into the church. Anyways, sorry, I'm going on a rabbit trail.
No, I love it. Continue, please. So how'd you find, that was my first question, was how, so you're scrolling through a book of like children's book of saints, or?
No. So my friend, he tells me your saint kind of picks you. And I had told him about this weird stuff that had happened to me. I've also had a number of strange things that happened that I can't really explain, both as a kid and then right before coming into the church as well. And so I was talking to him and I told him the story, and I don't know what made him say it, but he was like, dude, that was St. Patrick. And I was like, no, it wasn't. And he was like, no, yeah, it was. Like, look, just look him up.
He pulls out his phone. He's like, you St. Patrick, look, to a T.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'll see. Because I was leaning towards Venerable Fulton Sheen. But
Fair.
I didn't know.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I can make a venerable my patron saint, because he's not technically a saint. I don't know.
You can. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, you can.
So I Google.
Depends on the diocese, but continue. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because certain bishops will say like, oh, you can't do a blessed, and some are fine with it. It's a whole, don't ask me. There's a long story. Continue.
Yeah, so he tells me, he was like, after I told him that story, he said that, like, I'd be willing to bet money that was St. Patrick. And so I Google it, and it was the first picture that popped up. It was like, I had a Jimmy Neutron, like, or was it Jimmy Neutron? No, it was the That's So Raven. Did you ever watch that show?
No.
It was a witchcraft show.
I grew up watching like I Love Lucy. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I was an old school Dick Van Dyke Show.
Okay. Well, it was this moment where like I stopped, and it was like I went back in time and like saw him again. It was super weird, and I just remember thinking, that's him. I don't know how I know, and I can't explain this to you, and I sound like a crazy person right now, but I know that was St. Patrick.
Dude, fair, man.
So from that, I was like, okay, well, now I don't have a choice, because I feel like if I don't pick St. Patrick, he's like, he's gonna come after me or something. I don't know.
He'll come back.
So, yeah, right. Yeah, and I don't like this kind of stuff. I know some people are really into, let's go on ghost tours and let's watch like ghost movies. Not interested. Don't want it. No, thank you. So that's how I picked St. Patrick as my patron saint.
So do you believe that was like an actual like apparition?
I think so, because I like when he was standing in the doorway, he looked. It looked like a human being. Like it looked like a actual person. I don't know. And then the fact that because I remember when I looked at St. Patrick, I looked over at the clock. My dad had like the stereotypical Radio Shack, like brown and black clock with the red numbers on it. And so I looked at it, and it was, I don't remember what time it was, but I remember looking at the time and then like shutting my eyes. And then from like, I still remember that night of sleep, like to this
Probably
day.
like 333 for the Trinity or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Dude, that's insane. That's actually insane. Like,
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's insane.
Yeah, for years I like denied it and pushed it away. And then the more I started reading about like mysticism and that apparitions were real, I thought, I don't know, like maybe this is real. And the longer, like the older I get, the more I look into it, the more I read, the more I'm thinking, I don't know that there's another way to explain it, really.
No.
Because I had no clue who St. Patrick was. Like there was no. My mom grew up Catholic as a kid and then left the faith.
Yeah, so there was no way for you to even seen like a St. Patrick's Day thing.
Yeah, like
especially in that area.
Oh yeah. For me, in like down here in the Southeast, St. Patrick's Day was like there's leprechauns and rainbows and golden coins with chocolate inside, and that's it.
Yep. It's not a holiday for drinking like the Catholics do it, especially not in Southern Baptist territory.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No drinking at all. But yeah, it's
man, that's crazy.
It was weird. I've had a number of like really weird experiences, and I don't know why I'm not interested. No, please stop.
That's the thing. God does all the people who want him. God's like, no. All the people who are like, I want that. God's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a way for him to say, this is real because there's no way you would ever make this up.
Right.
Oh, it's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. Fun times. I was always really hesitant to like share that story because I don't.
Because you sound crazy, or because like it's like I can't explain this, and someone's like, "All right, whatever the number is for the mental asylum."
Yeah, so a little bit of both. Because I can't explain it, and I feel there's still in the back of my head that like this stuff doesn't happen. Kind of like voice like you don't know for certain that that's actually what happened. And so should you really be telling people this? Should you really be talking about that? I don't know though. The more that I think about it and the more that I go on, the more I think I don't know. I'm becoming more comfortable with sharing that story.
Fair. Yeah.
I don't really have any great reasoning behind it. I'm just thinking, maybe it's not a bad thing to share it. I just don't ever want to turn into like the guy who's like, oh, he's always got some magic
Mystic
story.
Yeah, no. But the fact that you're cognizant of that means you're not going to. Like, to be fair. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's fair to share. No, that's one of the reasons for me and I'm very cradle Catholic, but like, I've seen things I cannot explain. Nothing like that. No apparitions, nothing like that. But like, I knew a dude at a conference who we were playing ultimate frisbee, jumped, grabbed the frisbee, missed, landed on his foot. His ankle was like over here. Like he was in the ER all night. And we still had the rest of the conference because that was like the first day or the night before the day. And this one speaker, musician who was there for the conference, I'm not going to say his name, because I don't know if how public he wants stories like this, but he was just, went up to the kid, and this guy's in a wheelchair and a brace. Like it's bad. He's on like some sort of high power pain medicine because it was painful. And he goes up and he's like, hey man, what happened? He was telling him, he's like, hey, can I say a prayer for you? And the guy's like, yeah, of course. Like, of course. Prays with him for probably 2 or 3 minutes, and is like, hey man, you should just take some steps around. And literally everyone's like, no, don't try doing that. Please, just don't. He was on crutches, but was walking fine for the rest of the conference. And I'm like, I cannot explain that. Like, And there's something of like, oh, well, maybe he just believed so hard that it turned off the receptors in his brain or something. It's like, sure, maybe, or also healing is real, and and that's crazy. Granted, I'm not a charismatic. I don't like a lot of aspects associated with a lot of charismatic Catholicism, that whole wing, but like that side of the gifts are real. Like the gifts of the Holy Spirit are real. Gifts of healing are real. Apparitions are real. Like that stuff is legit. And there's an aspect to that of like your testimony, even if it's simple or shared simply, is still something that's powerful. Yeah. Because that's what it's meant to be given, right? It was even though, actually, no, I'm not going to open that can of worms. Never mind. But yeah, no, it's crazy, dude. That's great. That's an incredible story.
So I started wearing a miraculous medal, not long after becoming Catholic. So also, just talking about being able to share some of these stories to help be a testimony to other people. When I was Protestant, let's see, how long ago was this? 9.5 years ago or so. Actually, probably 9 years ago, almost exactly.
Wow.
To the day. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Gotcha.
So I was in the hospital for 6 days. I lost like a ton of weight. I was really, really bad. They told me I had to walk like 10 feet down the hallway and 10 feet back before they'd let me go. And it took like 2 more days for me to, because I didn't eat for like 3 days. Yeah. It was really bad. And I was on medicine where I had to give myself a shot like every other week for years. So I become Catholic. I start wearing a miraculous medal, and then I start feeling like really good. And I'm the same kind of way, like skeptic, like, nah, this,
I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh, it's God automatically. Yes. Respect, understood.
Right. Because Crohn's disease can be that way. Like you can feel like you're fine, and then all of a sudden it can get really, really bad really quick. Yeah. So I kept taking this medicine, and then I like ran out, and then there was some kind of problem with insurance where I couldn't order more medicine, and then I had a doctor's appointment that was just a month or two later to where like the medicine would have just worn off by the time I went to the doctor. And I was thinking, okay, I'm feeling really good. Let me just wait before I take more medicine. I'll go to the doctor, let them do blood work and check and see how things are going. Yeah, fair. And I went, makes sense. Yeah, and I think just a month or two before I started wearing the miraculous medal, and then I go to the doctor and they do the blood work, and they're like, wow, everything, like you don't have any, from your blood work, you don't have any signs of Crohn's disease, but you can still have, like it's a disease that can go into remission and then come back. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, okay. So they wanted to do more testing. I'll share, not to be TMI, but they were like, we need to do a colonoscopy because like that is how we can see what the disease is doing if it's not bad enough to show up on blood work. What's the remission rate? Where are we at? Like, yeah, absolutely. Right. So they did it, and then they took biopsies, and they came back and they were like, okay, we didn't see anything on the camera. And then we send off the biopsy, and even on a cellular level, you have zero inflammation. And I asked the lady, I was like, okay, well, could it just be that, like, the disease is in remission? And she's like, just caught you. She's like, sweetheart, no, absolutely, literally nothing. Yeah, and I asked her, I was like, could it be the medicine? Like, could the medicine just really, really be working? She was like, no, it's not the medicine. If you came into my office today and you were complaining about stomach problems, you would never have been. Tums. Yeah, she was like, I would have never diagnosed you with Crohn's disease. And so now, like, people back from my past, back in the Protestant world, they'll, because when I ended up in the hospital, there was a bunch of them. I mean, I was still a Protestant. There was a bunch of them. Prayer circles. Yep. They would come to the hospital. They would visit me. They would come and talk to me. Yep. Absolutely. I don't remember. I was drugged up on all kinds of medicine, so I don't remember half the conversations I had. But sometimes people will ask me like, "Hey, how are things going?" And now it's like a story that I can share with them. Like,
That's crazy.
I don't have any explanation for this. You
How
know
do people
how
respond?
they're just like, oh well, that's weird. And then like at least that they tell me, like, that's all that I hear.
It's like there's no way you're not curious.
Right. You never know. So I was really into apologetics as a Protestant, and there's a guy, Greg Kokel, who
Yeah.
Okay, so he has a saying like, put a pebble in their shoe. And I'm really big into that. And so I'll like say things and just think, you may say you don't care and you may brush it off.
About this.
Yeah. But I know that like that there's something to that. And it's the same thing like when I put stuff online. Like if I can just get somebody thinking just a little bit, like, yeah, I'm not going to be the one to convert you. But like if I can start pushing the snowball down the hill a little bit, I'd love to do it.
Well, and I actually had that sort of an experience today. There's a guy I've been talking to. I really thought he is strictly anti-Christian because he has a belief that Christianity, the whole true, the gospel is legitimate, but the message is fake. The true message is that we need to kill all the Jews, which is like, buddy, no, I can promise you. And I was like, man, like, I'm gonna minister to this guy. You know what? Like, I'm gonna help him see this. I'll answer the questions. Like, this can't be that hard. That's so far fetched. And he couldn't use. I'm not being mean, but being blunt. He couldn't use logical reasoning. Like he was saying, well, when he said it was the Son of God, that's because they were in a Roman area and it was from Remus and Romulus and like resurrection stories were a Roman pagan thing. So it's all fake. And I'm like, but Easter isn't a pagan holiday. He's like, but Roman culture came first and someone else said that, so it must be pagan. And I'm like, that's not how anything works. And I tried all that I was within my ability and my knowledge to do. And I even was like, God, I'm giving it up to you. Like, I'll come back to it later. Like, maybe this is a long journey. And today, we just started a conversation, and it was about 1 Thessalonians 2:15, where Paul is talking about, hey, remember those Jews that killed Christian, the Jews who killed Christ and kicked you out of Judea. And he's like, see, this is a perfect example of the Bible explicitly saying the Jews are bad. And I'm like, no, it's saying these Jews. He's like, no, it means all Jews. And I'm like, and it was probably a good 3 or 4 hours that I was just DMing with him, sending him voice messages, and he kept jumping around like, see, and also this other part of scripture also says, I'm like, I can't even nail you down. He was like, Pilate, you want me to believe that Pontius Pilate, who was a bloodthirsty murderer, basically an evil dictator who murdered people for fun, decided this one guy, Jesus, was chill and that he was just going to have a personality shift? No, absolutely not. And I was like, well, he was scared of riots. And he was like, but Pontius Pilate had a legion. He wouldn't have been scared of riots. And I'm like, Pontius Pilate didn't have a legion. That's Judea, right? You and I are thinking like, hold on, wait a second. No, he would have had 400 to 600 people because he would have had an auxiliary. And he's like, not true. And so I Google, screenshot, send it to him. He's like, won't even talk about it. And I'm like, God, I just, at some point I was like, you know what, God, I've done what I can. I don't know what I can do. So either you need to open his heart or I'm not the person to minister to him. I'm a stepping stone. I'm a pebble. And I got really, really, really uneasy about that because I was like, I've been ministering to this guy for months. I'm trying to get him to see the light. I want to connect. And it's almost like, I don't want to say like, oh, okay, if you can't get to someone, like just give it up. Like, I don't believe that at all. There are other people I'm talking with who I've been talking with for like 4 to 6 months, and they're slowly moving and stuff. And it's not, sometimes you might not even see the progression. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I feel like when we're being content creators or like evangelists, we try to win. And it's like sometimes the win is just doing what we can. And it's like, this guy might go to the grave because he has a preconceived notion of what he believes scripture to be, and he just wants to believe what he wants to believe. I can't do anything about that, and it might just be that I did what I could, and I put it in, and that was all I was supposed to do. I can't. I did what I was best, and if there's another opportunity to present it, I will, but I can't spend time, and it's this concept I came up with when I was in youth group as like a teen, as a youth leader. There's this theory I came up with called the fallacy of the 1%, of the fallacy of the one. And it was this idea of, oh, well, if Jesus went and he pursued the one lost sheep, that's what I need to do. I need to do something even if it only affects one person. And it's like, that is a good mindset. The problem is that will often lead into someone saying, as such, I'm not going to serve the 99 because I feel like the 99 are already in the pen. And it's like, I have other people I need to be ministering to. I have other vocations I need to be serving. I can't be thinking, I need to save this one person's soul. I can't. And that kind of goes to what you were saying about, we are not converters, like, period. We do not convert anyone. We are the instruments God uses to touch their heart. And an instrument can be sharper. It can be more on key, in key. It can be more in tune, not in key. We can be playing a better key that resonates with somebody, but like, we cannot convert. It is, we present our stories, our circumstances, our testimony. We can't convert. It's God touching other people's hearts, and we're just the tool. That's it. That was my whole point. Devil was cutting it off because it's too good of a point, but it's that simple. That's it. We do what we can. We say what we can. That's why I don't even say I'm an apologist. We're not defending. Who is it? Patrick Neve retweeted. Do you know Patrick?
I know of him.
You know, yeah. You know who he is. I don't even know him. He's the OG celebrities. He tweeted something about like the problem with the old media of the church, and I kind of agree and kind of disagree. The problem with the older media of the church is that we're too much on the defensive, and we need to be more on the offensive. Not in terms of like apologetics is all about defending the faith, but we can't think about it as like, oh look, we're here, and it's like we should be using the truth as an offensive measurement, not to like offend people, but as a way to gain souls more actively. And I like that. I like that idea a lot. I don't know if it's true in all instances. I think there's a lot of great companies that are moving in the offensive, but we gates of hell will not stand. Doesn't mean the gates of heaven won't fall. Like we're pushing forward. We're not on the defense waiting. Like, so yeah, and that's the whole evangelization mindset mantra sort of a deal.
Yeah, I think for me, I was talking to somebody not long ago. I don't remember who it was, but I think having all this head knowledge and all this theological and reason and all of that is very good, and we should have that, and we should present that to people. Amen. But that's not... One thing I always say in OCIA is, like, all of this head knowledge that I'm teaching you, if it doesn't cause you to love God and neighbor more, then it's completely useless.
Amen. I always say theology is nothing if not applied.
Right, yep. Exactly. You're supposed to take all of these things that you learn and then go do something with it. I often think, especially lately, have been thinking a lot on St. Thomas Aquinas and how, like, he's brilliant, like a doctor of the church, wrote this Summa Theologica. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Theologica.
That shows you what I know, right?
I spoke ecclesiastical. I studied ecclesiastical Latin in high school. But that's the level of like nerdiness that you can get into with the church. It's like, oh, I read this I read The Hobbit in Latin, so I'm a genius, right? I'm a better saint.
Yeah, but like he had all these brilliant works and all these brilliant writings, and then at some point, not the end of his life, maybe closer to the end of his life. Yep. He had this vision of Jesus, and then he said everything that I ever wrote was just like straw, like it just is burned up compared to the love of God. The closest we can get to Christ, the closest we can get to God, and it's literally like straw. Holy crap! Our truth is still a straw man by comparison. Straw man. That's crazy, dude. I love that story. Yeah, so I've been thinking on that a lot, and just like, okay, well, how do we take that and apply it to how we evangelize? Because yes, it is good that we know all this stuff, but it's even more important. Like if you are called to love God and love your neighbor, that is what we are called to do. And so how do we teach people to do that, and how do we show them like? This is the best way to do that is within the Catholic Church. Because for me, growing up Protestant, like that is I'm more geared towards Protestantism and bringing people into the fullness of the church because that's the route that I took. And now, I tell people like, I just found the greatest treasure that you could ever find. And so why in the world would I not want everyone else who was like, back where I came from, like, look at this. especially the sacraments, the amount of grace that is found in the sacraments is, I have never seen. I mean, being a Protestant was fine. I have had multiple like conversions of heart. I don't think, some people will say, oh, like Protestantism is just, it's all heresy and it's all completely useless.
And there's aspects of truth.
Right. And I think even in those small ways, like I had some major conversions of heart.
Oh, yeah.
Even as a Protestant, but none of it has ever compared to like when you start receiving the sacraments and the grace that flows through the sacraments. It is like, I don't know. It's literally life changing.
I had someone DM me that who was like, I just received. I was like, oh my gosh, how was it? He was like, honestly, and they didn't have to. They didn't have to go to receive confession because they had to get baptized because they'd never been baptized trinitarily. And so they were like, I'm kind of sad because I kind of want to go to confession. I'm like, don't sin. No, it's fine. So don't. And they were like, yeah, we were joking about that. And I was like, all right, don't sin. It's not worth the Catholic guilt is real. But it's the God guilt, but whatever. I asked her, like, how did it feel when you, like, received communion specifically? Because I was curious. I'm like, baptism's going to hit you like a load of bricks. Like, it just is. But how is it going to feel? How did it feel when you received communion? And the response was so beautiful because she just said, it just proved that it was real.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, buddy, that is the perfect way to explain the Eucharist. Of when you take it, you will know that it is Jesus. It's like, that is a scary statement of truth.
Yeah.
Same with confession. Like when I go out of confession and it's like, I just have a genuine peace. I'm like, oh, it's another one of those things. It's the, Alex Hormozy's been talking about it a lot lately. I love Hormozy. He says that proof is better than promise. So you can talk to anyone about it, but once they experience it, and it's the whole I experience the living God, my heart is full of joy thing, right? It's the apostles, it's everything. Once someone experiences it, or if they can't experience it, if they see that you have experienced it, if you're saying, hey man, look, I'm in the same circumstance that you are in, which is where I feel like a lot of times we run into issues with testimonials and testimonies, is that we say, well, it worked for me, and you're not in the same circumstances. It's not going to matter, never going to apply. If they're in the same circumstances and you say, I was there, it helped me because of this, they're more open to try. So even if they can't experience that because they can't receive the Eucharist because of the proper reasons why they can't, you saying and you having that testimony of, I did this and it hit me and it slapped me like this and here's what it was like, that's a powerhouse. That is the win. That's how we evangelize. Because and I have stories in my life. And some of them are more powerful, some of them are less powerful. You have stories of your life. Some of them are more powerful or less powerful than other ones of mine. And we can say that about anyone, right? And that's the beauty of the saints, is that they have the stories that are more powerful or more connected to someone. I really believe, I'm going to say, you probably agree, but I really believe that no one doesn't want to accept the fullness of the faith, not just the Catholic Church, but like the fullness of God. They just haven't heard it delivered in a way that connects with them. Yeah. That's really my belief.
Yeah.
So our job as evangelists is figure that part out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I really, well, for the longest time, I kind of pushed away from sharing like personal testimony stuff because I thought,
fair. It feels weird.
Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, but who cares about my story? Like they need to hear the truth of the gospel. Right. And even as a Protestant, like I would say that like, nobody needs to, the atheist and the agnostic doesn't need to hear about how you came to become a Christian. Like they just need to hear the gospel. So leave yourself out of it. But then I was a few weeks ago, one of the readings, it was during Lent and it was during one of the scrutinies and I can't remember which one, but it was the story of the woman at the well.
Yes.
Was in the readings.
I think it's the fourth. But anyways, yeah.
So I just remember like just listening to that story during Mass and hearing how the woman at the well left her encounter with Jesus, went back to her town, told everyone in her town, I know this man who told me all my sins. And then all of those people went and sought after Jesus because of her testimony. And so I thought, especially then, it was really... I had kind of been softening up to like sharing more personal testimony type stuff. But after I heard that, I thought, like sure, maybe it's not going to convert, but if it gets like, if what happens to me makes somebody go, I don't know, there might be something to that. Let me go do some more research, or let me go
I
seek
think
this
that's
out.
the other problem, is that we want to say the testimony that gets them all the way in, and we really need to be incrementalists. We really, I mean, your journey was 8 years. Like, so I know you're already agreeing with me, but like, we need to get someone closer to the faith. I'm not mad because this one guy I know isn't Catholic yet, but he's praying the rosary daily.
Wow.
I know God's going to do stuff on his heart.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that he's closer to him, even if he never moves any further closer. It's not like you're either in God's club or you're out. It's how close are you to God's will. I mean, that even pulls into the church's teaching on salvation, and no salvation outside the church, but it's guaranteed salvation. It's like, if you are somebody who's actively trying to follow God's will, we want to believe that God is going to take that. Right. Like, if you're following a properly formed conscience. And I feel like we as evangelists need to think about, or anyone sharing their faith, it's, if you get someone closer to God, closer to the fullness, you're at least getting them to the table. That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations. You got them in the door. That's a win. Who cares if they're sitting even if they're just sitting on the steps? At least they're on the premise. Congratulations. We shouldn't get mad that they're not in the pew if we at least got them in the building. Like, we got to get as close as we can to getting someone in the fold. We can't just say, I want you here or nothing. It's like, you need to accept everything. It's like, they're not going to accept. I don't accept. Doctrines and dogmas aside, I don't like a lot of stuff. I'm still dubious on Medjugorje. I'm not sure about that one yet, coach. Sue me. Fight me. I have people saying you need to say things a certain way because this could cause confusion. I don't care. I'm not doctrines, dogmas. I'm sound. Outside of that, we're chill, right? I got questions about a lot of stuff though, and that's okay. We're moving closer to the Lord. It's not that we have to be right on top of him or not. It's not a dualist thing. It's close. Let's get as close to him as we can. Don't get me started. This frustrates me. Because it's like this weird of like, you're either right or wrong, you're either in or you out. It's like, or how about this? There were 12 apostles. Some of them sat a little closer to Jesus than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, went off there.
No, that's good. Yeah, because I think, well, like, even with us, like, within the church, it's not, salvation is not like a, oh, you have crossed this metric, so now you're saved, or you've not crossed this metric, so now you're not, or now you're not saved.
People teach that though because they want the security and the salvation, and I respect it. I understand why they want to, but it's like, who cares?
Right. Are you cooperating with the grace that God gives you? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then you can have peace. You can have hope that God is a good, loving, and merciful God. Yes, Amen. He's just, but like God created you because he wants you to be a saint. So he's not like I'm not of the opinion that, like, you'll get to heaven and you'll think, man, my whole life I fought sin and I tried to do what God called me to do, and I don't know, like, I hope that I did it right, and then God go, oh, well, sorry, because you didn't do you didn't hit the magic number that I wanted you to hit, so too bad, so sad.
I really think there are going to be people who get up to the gates of heaven and God's going to say, well done, my good and faithful servant, and they're going to say, nope, I didn't, and walk themselves into hell. And that's so sad, because it's just pride. It's saying, actually, God, I know more than you. I'm not good enough for you. And it's like, if you can accept, and there's a good and a bad to that, like, right? Like in Mass, we say, Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed. And I was talking about this with that therapist friend of mine about, does that cause shame or identity issues? But I feel like it's a good thing that we're saying it. And it's like, well, it's a question of, are you putting onto yourself a false image of I am not worthy, or are you accepting a reality of I am not worthy? And if you're willing to accept the reality that is true, because you're not worthy, and admit that is true and accept it and live in response to it, but only say the word, my soul shall be healed. Have some sort of thing going forward, that is healthy, because it's actually a recognition of who you truly are, not trying to put on a false self. Like that, man, every time I see, once you start to think a lot more in those terms of like, are you living out your sainthood? And sainthood is like, don't get me started, we'll go off for days on that. It's a whole other podcast. You start to see, you're like, hey man, I can see where God wants to move more in your life. I can see where you're putting up your own impediments to your sainthood. I can see where you are still holding on to this false part of yourself, or this part that somebody else put onto you, or this assurance that you need from God. And it's just, I'm not pitying them, but it's like, I want to help you, because it's so easy Like, it is so easy. We got this. Trust me. It's, oh,
Yeah.
man. But then that's also like, it's great, but it's also like, I know how to help you, but you won't help yourself. Right? Like, it sucks.
Right. Yeah. No,
and I'm not even there. I'm not saying, you kidding me? I'm doing my best.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I think a lot of times too, well, like you were saying with the Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof. I think the problem comes in is when people stop there.
Yep.
And then they don't say the second half. And like, this is something that for the longest time, this Lent actually was wildly fruitful for me. And I think
good for you. This Lent sucked.
This is the first one that I've actually been like, I feel like I've made progress. The other ones
for
in the
you.
past
That's awesome. That's actually phenomenal. I was slightly joking.
No, it's okay. I get it, because I would have said the exact same thing in years past. Like, I did all this hard stuff.
You know the vibe. You know the run. Yeah.
Yes. But this year I learned a lot, like that about myself, that I am very bad about just saying the Lord, I'm not worthy part, and then because I have a problem with being scrupulous and looking more into myself and going, oh well, was this a sin? Was this a mortal sin? Did I technically fall into the mortal sins? I don't know. And kind of having that false view of like God is a angry overlord who's looking down on you, just ready to strike you down, instead of like the father in the prodigal son story, that like he saw the son from a far off distance, which means he was looking for the son. And it's the same thing with me, that if I do leave, that God is always standing on the porch waiting for me to come back. So I've learned a lot of like, don't just say the Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof part, but also say the second part, that, you know, like, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed. Like, it's
equally important.
You got to have both. If you don't have both aspects, it's off. It's going to be wrong.
You made me think of two things. One, the quote I keep coming up with that keeps resonating with me, and I use as often as I can, is that all mortal sin is just idolatry. It's just saying, God, I want this thing. I know this thing is bad, but I want it instead of you. Like, that's what it is. And it's grave matter, duh, but like, that's all it is. But even more than that, so a part of the first book I'm writing, which I have to write the first book before I write the second book, because the first book is about being a saint. The second book is about sharing the faith, and you can't share the faith if you're not a saint. Like, it doesn't work. Or if you're striving for sainthood, you just can't. The first questions you have to ask in the book, because it's kind of like a self-help book, but it goes through and helps you figure out how your alignment properly with knowledge, love, and service, that you can properly follow the journey of sainthood, and then take practical steps to improve on areas that you already know that you can improve on in your life. Like, the book is called Practical Sainthood for a reason. But the first two questions that we ask, because for knowledge, love, and service, we each ask two questions. And for love, the two questions are, who do you say that you are? Which is self-identity, but then it's also, who do you say that I am? Because we can't just, exactly to your point, we can't just say, Lord, I'm not worthy. We have to say, but only say the word. We can't just say, I'm the prodigal son. We have to acknowledge that the Father is waiting. So it's not just our identity. It's our identity has to also be there connected with who is God. And we can have a false view of God. We can say God is this angry dictator. We can say God is this, curmudgeon-y old, sky daddy, or whatever the atheists want to say, right? He's some spaghetti monster, whatever. But maybe you don't want to accept God's love that is equally flowing forth because either A, you believe that you are unworthy, or you believe that he will not give it to you. And you have to ask both of those questions. Is your self-identity proper? And is your view of God? And God's not changing, but the way we view him can. So is the way we view him ordered? And is the way we view ourselves ordered? If both of those are true, everything else just happens to fall into place a lot easier. Everything just makes more sense. So those are the questions. I used to be very, very scrupulous, so I understand that battle. I actually just ordered a hat today that says scrupulosity doesn't look good on you. Because it'll be good to wear in the gym. Because in the gym, I'm always like, am I doing this right? And it's like, take a breath. At least you're in the gym. So yeah, I think that, to me, that was the thing that helped, was figure out who you are, figure out who God is, and then you're going to be constantly rewriting those things and constantly having to check yourself for the rest of your life. But at least you know how to check and see if you're in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's how you become a saint.
Sainthood is a journey, not a title.
Right, right.